Virginia's new governor, Glenn Youngkin, ended the state's mask mandates in schools, but it hasn't necessarily ended the battle between parents and school boards, especially in districts that stuck with masking and where school board members posted photos of themselves on Facebook without masks and in large groups, as recently pointed out by a parent during a school board meeting in Montgomery County, Virginia. And it prompted the board's chair to storm off.
Here's a picture of you right here on Facebook with a crowd of people.
That's it.
With no mask on. This is my time and I don't interrupt you. Here's another picture with you with a no mask on.
I'm sorry, Ms. Vaught, you are done. If you are going to sit there and disparage a member of our school board, then you can sit down. If you have something effective to...
Let's bring in now our friends Mo'Kelly and Tony Katz from the Mo'Kelly Show and Eat, Drink, Smoke. Mo, let's start with you. It sounded almost to me more like she was upset, this board chair, that the parent was using the pictures from Facebook. Is that fair game?
Yeah, I don't know if it's fair game, but I would say this. Well, actually, it is fair game. If you're going to post it in a public forum, then it is fair game. I don't think it was necessarily germane to the specific issue of masking kids. But yes, obviously, the school board member was embarrassed and seen as being hypocritical. But I think it also speaks to our level of incivility as far as how we go about trying to discuss these issues.
We're getting closer, though, Tony, are we not? I mean, we've seen a lot of it, not to mention the Super Bowl where no one was wearing a mask. And a lot of these states we know, even blue states, are dropping the mask mandates, but it's still an issue for schools.
First things first, it's totally germane to the conversation. These are elected officials, and you're allowed to point out when an elected official has a rule for them and a different rule for children, considering children are far better equipped to deal with COVID because we've proven that through the science. Secondly, so we're clear, it has nothing to do with civility or incivility whatsoever. There was no screaming, no yelling. Everyone was allowed to make their point, except the school board didn't want this mother making her point. That's the uncivil part. That's the obscene part. Of course, this is still an issue, and you don't understand the real deep anger of these parents who've been treated like garbage, and to just sit there and explain, look what you're doing, and now look what you're doing to my kid. If that's considered incivil or uncivil, well, then these school boards are going to have a rough year ahead.
Well, it's part of a public meeting, the public comment. And I guess even one of the other board members pointed out, listen, I got hammered last year on something else. They get their 3 or 4 or 5 minutes or whatever it is. You kind of have to sit there and take it, I guess, Mo. But my other question was that she brought up the point, which was a good one. Why would you say listen to the governor when the last governor said wear a mask and not listen to this governor when this governor says it's your choice?
No, and that is the point. If you want to talk about that point, by all means. If you want to bring up pictures and say, hey, what you're doing in your house, in your personal business is not in alignment with what you're asking my kids to do in school, I don't think that's a germane issue. When we talk about, let's say, Governor Newsom and what he was asking adults and people in public to do, which is exactly he's a member of that particular group, then yes, but a school board member is not a school class member. And if you want to say what you're doing in your house is hypocritical given what you're asking what your kid's going to do, yeah, you can make that argument. I just don't think it holds water.
All right, now let's move on to topic 2 here. And Mo, we'll start with you since you're out there in California. The governor, Gavin Newsom, pushing a new bill that would allow people to sue gun makers. And it's based on a Texas law that allowed people to sue abortion providers. Newsom's argument: if you supported the Texas law, well, you should support this bill, too. So, Mo, it works both ways. I'm guessing you didn't like the Texas law, so tell me why you don't like this gun bill either.
Well, actually, I'm indifferent to the Texas law because I don't live in Texas and I don't necessarily take a side on abortion per se. But I do know the Texas law was built upon the Mississippi law, and a lot of these laws are built like one another. There's some 16 new abortion laws in the past year, which have been crafted very similarly that they think will pass muster at the Supreme Court. And as you're saying with Governor Newsom, he's saying like, okay, we're just going to change the secret sauce and say change abortion to guns. And therefore, well, if you think that this legally stands and is constitutional, then you should say that our laws, if you will, are also constitutional.
Yeah. So it does sound, Tony, like at least to a point, this was made to make a point because maybe, you do or don't agree with it. And to Mo's point as well, this went to the Supreme Court and it was upheld in Texas. So is it more than just you got to believe in both of them?
No, this is Governor Gavin Newsom encouraging junk lawsuits all throughout California. There's the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, which this law absolutely flies in the face of. Also, this law in California, as explained by Cam Edwards over at bearingarms.com, allows the state to sue. Of course, in Texas, it's only the people that can sue, so it doesn't hold water there as well. This is Gavin Newsom, as radical as you want to be on the Second Amendment, which is protected by the Second Amendment. We're protected by the Constitution, as opposed to abortion, which was not certainly an amendment. It was a creation, if you will, of the Supreme Court out of whole cloth. And I think we're going to see the Supreme Court make changes. But there are massive differences between what Newsom is proposing and what Texas has done regarding abortion. And anybody with a cursory understanding is going to read that and understand it.
Mo, does the Sandy Hook settlement against Remington change the conversation at all? I know, we all know about the federal law Tony's talking about, but does that change it?
It changes the conversation. I don't know if it changes the law, because that was not a trial verdict agreement. So you can't say it's case precedent, but it does show how gun makers are changing how they're going to approach this. And it's not this brick wall that we've seen historically, where gun manufacturers are going to accept no responsibility. When you have Remington accepting responsibility, that is a change, at least in public perception.
Hold on one second. It was not Remington. It was the insurance companies. Remington isn't in business anymore.
Right? Yeah.
And the gun manufacturers did not change how they do things. It was some really weird people in courts who want to change things. It's the political left that wants to change things and decide that if you get into a car accident, you can sue General Motors.
It came
That's
from
wrong.
somebody. It came from somebody.
You
and it came
want
from
to sue General Motors for a car accident?
Yeah, I mean,
whether it's insurance or not, it's still connected to Remington. It didn't come out of their pockets.
Tony, the difference is that it kind of did an end around on the federal law we've been talking about here, based on a marketing lawsuit, correct?
Well, we see end arounds that people try and push from the political left on the Second Amendment. They don't want to go after guns, but they'll go after ammunition, all those kinds of things. Yes, they try the end around, and it's why people need to continue to fight for their Second Amendment rights, because there seems to be a crowd that won't rest, won't stop, won't quit when it comes to attacking lawful gun ownership, and that is a sin.
Mo, do you think this goes anywhere?
Yes, I do think it goes somewhere. Second Amendment rights does not mean you can have any gun, any ammunition you want. The Heller decision back in 2008, 2010 explained that with the majority opinion by Antonin Scalia. So it's not just Second Amendment covers all, ends all. It's a function of whether we want to hold people accountable for the products they create, some of which are even illegal when it includes ghost guns, since we're talking about the California legislation.
Hold on a second.
Make it quick,
Ghost
Tony.
guns,
We're out
which
of
is
time.
a gun you make in your own home, is what they call a ghost gun. California would require you to register such a thing, but there are many states that don't require you to register, and under federal law that is legal. So again, what are we talking about here?
California law, not federal law.
We're going to have to leave it there.
California law,
Mo'Kelly
but you can
and
make it and register.
Tony Katz, author of Let's Go Bourbon and the host of the Mo'Kelly Show. Always good to see you two. Take care. Thanks. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.